Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Suvit Chakravarti. You probably might know me from Kolkata Calling. And today's podcast is the first of its kind. We are calling it Hello Kolkata because it's geared towards every single Kolkatan out there who's on LinkedIn, who follows the Kolkata Calling community. And with your support, we've come this far. So we thought we'll try something new today. And we have a very special guest today with us, who I will be introducing very shortly. But before that, let me quickly tell you a little bit about Kolkata Calling. Most of you who have followed this page would know who we are and what we do. But for the uninitiated, what we would love to do is give you a quick background and a little bit of history. We're just 2 years old, so not a long way to go back. A couple of years ago, in 2022, Sneha and Paul and I started this Kolkata Calling community. The reason behind it was very simple. When I personally made the decision to move back home after working outside in Delhi, Gurgaon, and move back home to Calcutta, a lot of people felt that as a career move, it would be very stupid of me to do so. Because the typical perception and narrative around Calcutta that we have is nothing really ever happens in Calcutta. The opportunities are very less. It's a career suicide. And that conversation, which started on LinkedIn, really got a lot of traction. It touched a nerve somewhere of Kolkatans who are in Kolkata, who are outside, anywhere in India, globally. And based on that sentiment, both Sneha and I felt that we cannot let it die down just as a LinkedIn post. We need to build a community to create a voice that can possibly, hopefully, change the perception around the city. And with that, we started Kolkata Calling on a whim, not knowing who we would become and where this would go. But the love and response that we received from everybody over the last 2 years has been phenomenal. We got to meet some amazing people in the Kolkata ecosystem, the startup ecosystem, business leaders, government officials who encouraged us, gave us a lot of support. And with the love of all our community members, we are about 16,000 strong now, which is quite the dream for us. But we don't want to stop here. We want to continue to grow. And as we continue to bring you stories of positive news around Kolkata, new developments, new companies coming in, companies expanding in Kolkata, new infrastructure projects that are being developed. All of that we continue to bring in. But we thought this new year, 2024, we would love to experiment with a new format. While we continue to do what we do, we would want to bring in business leaders, entrepreneurs from Kolkata ecosystem who have a major role to play here and are as excited or even more excited than we are about the future potential of Kolkata. So that in a nutshell is Kolkata Calling. And today we are starting our very own podcast series. We call it Hello Kolkata. It's an experiment, so we'll see how it goes. If we make a slip somewhere, please do forgive us. We're not professionals in this, but this is something we would love to try, and we'd love to take your feedback and inputs and improve as we go along. So without much ado, would love to first briefly introduce our special guest, our first guest today at Kolkata Calling, Hello Kolkata podcast. We have Rimjhim Ray with us. Rimjhim presently is the member of the founding team as well as the group chief marketing officer of Heyo and MyOperator, both these companies. And they have a very strong link with Kolkata, and we'll get more into that. So let me first invite Rimjhim into the live stream. Rimjhim, welcome to Hello Kolkata.
Thank you, Suvit. Thank you, Kolkata Calling, for having me here. But rather, let me say dhonnobad amake ডাকার জন্য.
Yes. No, we discussed, we will mix English and Bengali. So yeah, I mean, firstly, thank you so much for agreeing to be our first guest on this Hello Kolkata podcast. Obviously, goes without saying, I'm a little bit nervous because this is something that I haven't done, and going live, doing a pre-recorded interview and publishing that is something else. But going live is a whole new, different game for me. But thank you so much for being so encouraging when we were planning this, and thank you for taking out time to join us on this. Rimjhim, I have done probably a terrible job at introducing you, but if you could, briefly tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can sort of, go with the flow about your career, your journey, and your Kolkata connection.
Sure. No, I think you did a great job of introducing me. আমি বলি একটু নিজেকে নিয়ে বলা সবসময় ডিফিকাল্ট হয়, আর এলিভেটর পিচ নিয়ে আমি অনেক জ্ঞান দিই, বাট আই হ্যাভ নেভার বিন এবল টু কমপ্লিটলি মাস্টার। এটা বললে পিপল উইল, লোকেরা খাবে, যেটা আমরা বাংলায় বলি। I'll be try to be as authentic as possible. আমি না একটু আমার অরিজিনে ফেরত যাব। তো আমি ছোটতে যে স্টোরিগুলো শুনতাম না, স্পেশালি আমার বাবার কাছে শুনেছি, কিছুটা আমার ঠাকুমার কাছে শুনেছি, বাট আই ওয়াজ ভেরি স্মল when she passed away. তাও কিছু স্টোরি শুনেছি তাদের কাছে, যে আমার বাবার মামার বাড়ির দিকে আমার বাবার দাদুর কথা উনি বাবা প্রায় বলতো যে অশ্বিনী কুমার রায় বর্মা আইসিসে তোরা আজকে তো মলে যাস, আমার দাদু ফার্স্ট মল এস্টাবলিশ করেছিল। তো আমি বললাম সেটা কিরকম? শিল্প মহল বলে একটা মল আমার দাদু এস্টাবলিশ করেছিল, মানে মল তখন তো আমরা মল হিসেবে জানতাম না। দাদুর ভিশনটা ছিল একই জায়গাতে শাড়িও পাওয়া যাবে, থেকে মানে বাড়ির সমস্ত জিনিসপত্র পাওয়া যাবে, ইট উইল বি ওয়ান স্টপ শপ টাইপের। তো ওনারা সেই সময় থেকে বিজনেস ফ্যামিলি, মানে ব্রাহ্ম ফ্যামিলি, জানোই তখন যারাই প্রগ্রেসিভ বাঙালি অনেকেই ব্রাহ্মর দিকে গেছে। বাবার মামা বাড়ি এখনোই পুরোটা ব্যবসা, ইনফ্যাক্ট খাদিম বিজনেস যেটা পার্শ্বপ্রতিম মামা বাড়িরই একটা অফশুট থেকে গেছে, ওনারা রায় বর্মন ফ্যামিলি। আমি ভাবি যে তোমরা কেন বিজনেস করো না, কিন্তু আমার বাবার মানে আমি বলি যে জিনটা এক দুটো জেনারেশন স্কিপ করে গেছিল তারপরে। মানে স্পেশালি আমার বাবাদের মধ্যে ইটস বিন অল বিন প্রফেশনাল এডুকেশন। তো বাবা লাইক এনি রেসপেক্টেড বেঙ্গলি ভদ্রলোক ডাক্তার মানুষ, না ব্যবসা জিনিস ভালো না, ভালো জব কর, টাটা। আমি বলছি না গভর্নমেন্ট জব করতে হবে, দ্যাট মাচ ইউ আর প্রগ্রেসিভ, টাটাতে জয়েন কর। তো দিস ইজ হাউ আই,
that's the closest to government sector that private sector can guess.
Yes.
Yeah, so Tata is like the pseudo government job for most families.
রেসপেক্টিভ মানে প্রগ্রেসিভ লোকেদের গভর্নমেন্ট জব আর কি। তো আমি বাবা মানে, বাট অবভিয়াসলি আমি তারপরে বাবার মোর এক্সটেন্ডেড ফ্যামিলি মিট করি, যারা এখনো মোর অর লেস অল অফ দেম আর ইন সাম বিজনেস অর আদার্স, খুব স্ট্রং ট্রাভেল বিজনেস আছে। খাদিমের কথা তো বললামই। আমাকে ওটা ফর শিওর অ্যাট্রাক্ট করতো। পড়াশোনায় ভালো ছিলাম, পড়াশোনায় ভালো হলে যাওয়া হয় 12 এর পরে স্কলারশিপ, তারপরে যাদবপুর কম্পিউটার সায়েন্স পড়লাম। মানে বেশ সেট ক্যারিয়ার ট্রাজেক্টরি। বাবার ফুলফিল করে প্রথম ক্যাম্পাস ইউজুয়ালি টিসিএস আসে যাদবপুরে, নিয়েও নিল, পাঠিয়েও দিল ইংল্যান্ডে, অনেকদিন ওখানে থাকলাম। কোডিং করতে খুব ভালো লাগতো, ম্যাথস আর ইংলিশ, মানে আমার দুটো স্ট্রং লাভ আছে, ম্যাথস আর ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজেস। তো প্রথমে আমি আমার ম্যাথস এর লাভটাকে ফর শিওর মানে প্রায়োরিটি দিই, বা বাবা মারও যেটা ইচ্ছে ছিল। আমার মনে হয় লন্ডনে গিয়ে না এন্টারপ্রেনিউরিয়াল স্পিরিটটা আরেকটা ফিলিপ পেলো। তো ওখানে আমি যাদের সাথে কথা বলতাম, এভরিওয়ান বাই অফ মানে আমার নিজেকে মনে হয় ভেরি বোরিং 25 year old, কারণ আমি পড়াশোনা করেছি, চাকরি করেছি। when I went to interview for Imperial London, আমি ডিনকে ওখানে আমি ডিনকে বলছিলাম, মানে when the interview with the dean happened, he asked me have you ever taken a career break? I very proudly said no, কারণ ইন্ডিয়াতে এটাই নট, তাই এখানে at least when I'm talking about 2006-07 তখন আরো এটা নর্ম ছিল। মেবি এখন অনেক বেশি এক্সপেরিমেন্ট করছে।
And at that time I don't think LinkedIn was there either, where you could actually yeah, so you couldn't also say that you were on a career break, which now is a LinkedIn career status, যেটা আগে ছিল না।
এখন অফিশিয়ালাইজ করেছে 10 বছর পর, লিঙ্কডইনও নিজে 10 বছর পরে করেছে যেটা।
ট্রু।
তো তখন it was all about achievements etc, GMAT এ কত স্কোর, those were the highs that
points, yeah, we call PV points, yeah.
হ্যাঁ, কটা স্কলারশিপ পেয়েছি, কতগুলো মেডেল পেয়েছি, অল অফ দোজ মানে ইউজুয়াল লিস্ট অফ অ্যাচিভমেন্টস আমি ইম্পেরিয়ালে বলতে শুরু করলাম। এন্ড ভদ্রলোক আমাকে থামিয়ে বললেন, তোমার মনে হয় না তোমাদের লাইফ একটু বোরিং? আমি না খুব শক পেলাম। মানে প্রথম আমাকে বলছে, আমি ভাবছি যে আমি আমার এত অ্যাচিভমেন্টের কথা ওনাকে বলছি, আমার এত হাই জিম্যাট স্কোর, যেটা আমার মানে ইউজুয়ালি ইংল্যান্ড বা আমেরিকাতে গিয়ে ইন্ডিয়ানরা হাইয়েস্ট জিম্যাট করে থাকে, আমাদের 750 থেকে শুরু, ওদের 680-তে শেষ হয়ে যায়। তো আমি ভাবলাম যে তিনি প্রচন্ড ইমপ্রেসড হওয়ার কথা, হোয়াট ইজ ইভেন টেলিং মি, না বাই ইয়োর এজ আমার এখানে বাচ্চাটা 2 বার জেলে চলে যেত ড্রাগ অ্যাবিউজের জন্য, ভলেন্টিয়ারিং করে আসতো, কিছু তো বিক্রি টিক্রি করেই আসতো, একটা ব্যবসা চালিয়ে হয়তো কিছু পয়সাও মানে পুড়িয়ে দিত, but they would have done all of that. So then I realized, and then I started meeting more people there, and probably that entrepreneurial gene which was very kind of latent, that got started getting a boost. Everywhere I went, even in classes, when I attended classes, I saw people talking less about theory and talking about what they're building. And so, London in 2008-9 was extremely entrepreneurial. I guess by default, that race is entrepreneurial. That is why they managed to colonize half the world. So anyway, so I remember then when I started, when I wrote, then I kind of changed my pitch to my MBA that yes, and it's not that it's not something I wanted to just write for my MBA admission letters. Something I genuinely felt. I want to be an entrepreneur. Key core for exactly what is the problem I want to solve. I'll not say the clarity at that point of time. But in 2012, India Fidelam, there was a family at that time. So I dropped out of my MBA out halfway and I came back. But anyway, the India Ashar Pore, I did my MBA here at SPJIMR. Because of certain family constraints, etc. No regrets there. But anyway, I joined Leo Burnett. So I thought they were this time to start experimenting. Play safe so far, time to start experimenting.
And this is when you moved from more, I would say, consulting, digital technology role to a more marketing role. Is that correct?
This was still a strategy role in Leo Burnett. So, but obviously it gave you exposure to the advertising creative side. You started working day out with people like Amitabh Bachchan because KBC was her account, or even Amir Khan, Star was the account. So it was a very different world altogether. While working at Leo Burnett, because again, advertising is a very, kind of strenuous thing. You spend 16 hours usually on job every day. And you are kind of trying to, adjust the start times and all of that, which obviously takes its own, has its own kind of both pros and cons. Pro side, I felt that if I'm giving so much time, why don't we turn entrepreneur? There's something I discussed with my husband, who also happens to be from JU at that point. And I mean, I don't think it was really a discussion also. One day I just said, can I put in my papers? He said, all right. We were discussing and just said, no, I had enough. I put in my papers. So this is how entrepreneurship suddenly started in 2015. It was, probably been thinking about it was sometime, but when I finally did it, I literally didn't have a plan.
And if I'm not wrong, this is the unmarketeer?
This is unmarketeer.
Okay, great.
So then we started with a digital agency where we worked. Luckily, we got early breaks because I guess we already had certain networks. Yeah. We worked with Emami in Kolkata. We worked with Videocon in Kolkata. We also used the networks in Bangalore, etc. So we launched VedaEarth in India. VedaEarth was ex-Infosys founder K. Dinesh's daughter's venture. K. Dinesh are also being involved in it. So we launched that in India, which was I think I enjoy working on even more than the larger accounts because I think it's a new concept at this point.
They were doing. This time you were not in Calcutta. You were.
We were in Bombay still.
Okay.
We started in Bombay, but because we started spending a lot of time in Kolkata because once you're turned entrepreneurs, there was no way that
you can be anywhere. Yeah.
Can be anywhere, and that's another freedom that for sure, I found it more liberating. Travel, but you can be based wherever you want to. Then 2018 when we launched Spotle. 2018 we started working on Spotle. 2019 is when we launched it. Because I guess, all of us coming from tech engineering background, we're looking for a product to build, not just a service company, but we also wanted to build a product. Because we made decent money in the service business, we built up a corpus, we had, good annual accounts running. So we sold off a part of the stake to new investors in Spotle, merged the company, which gave at least the unmarketed people a decent exit. And then we started Spotle, and Spotle where we wanted to solve a problem, which we felt very strongly at this time, and twofold parts of the problem. We thought that for people, because we were trying to hire, right, for our own company, etc. And we have also been hiring, when I worked in TCS or any of my previous stints, we realized that hiring, especially at the early level, is very broken. People beyond the tier 1 colleges, Jadavpur, IIT, the RECs or the NITs, they probably do not get a decent chance. Similarly, the volumes of application that comes in at that point, even companies have find it not necessarily they have the best visibility of the talent pool that is coming out. So we wanted to build an AI-powered platform which matches, early stage talents with the right recruiters, and basically back that up with a career path predictor. We realized, when we started solving this problem, it was not just the hiring, people are also struggling to find out, what is the skills that they should learn. So we kind of back integrated it with a kind of a career path predictor, largely focused on engineering students.
This is interesting because when you're talking about recruitment and career paths, it's giving me deja vu of my HR consulting career. Because though I have moved into business development for the last few years, but again, my initiation was in recruitment, career development, career pathing, talent management, all the HR stuff of organization. So yeah, please go on. This is very, very close to home.
Acha. So Spotle, I'm very proud of building Spotle. 3,500 উপরে campus we reached. We had 500,000 students active on it.
Wow.
IIMC স্টুডেন্ট তো ছিলই, বাট আমার জন্য তাদের থেকেও বেশি ইম্পর্টেন্ট ছিল যারা tier 2 tier 3 কলেজের স্টুডেন্ট, বিকজ বাই ডিফল্ট আমাদের tier 1 কলেজের ছেলেমেয়েরা
taken care of.
তো ইনফ্যাক্ট কোভিড এর সময় we fulfilled a very important role. আমাদের ভার্চুয়াল যেটা হায়ারিং প্ল্যাটফর্ম that was used for that was used for actually doing virtual placements. তো সেই সময় ফিজিক্যাল প্লেসমেন্ট বন্ধ হয়ে গিয়েছিল। তো campuses, companies like L&T, L&T Infotech, they ran their entire virtual campusing on Spotle and they hired students. আমার খুব ভালো লেগেছিল দেখে যে স্টুডেন্টস মানে রুরকি এগুলো থেকে তো হায়ার হবে জানতামই, but some of the top placed students in that placement drive that they did were from colleges যেগুলো আমরা মানে কেউই না
colleges. Very nice. I think this also has a good deal of giving back to the society, giving back to the community, helping the student community. It's not just a product for consumers, which is like a Swiggy or an Amazon, but it's more about helping people find their careers, their decent opportunities. So yeah, fantastic initiative.
হ্যাঁ, সেটা ঠিকই। আমি এখনো মাঝে মাঝে লিঙ্কডইনে মেসেজ পাই। The other day I got it from a girl saying যে আমি জার্মানি যাচ্ছি and thank you. I was like, আমি কি করলাম? Well, no, I basically did the entire data science hackathon and internship on Spotle. Spotle helped me get my first opportunity, and I've been able to build very strongly after that, post that.
Okay, and while you're saying all this, and bringing it back to this Kolkata Calling thing, we get the same problem. We face the same problem. And sorry to digress, Kochi. On one hand, we have this fantastic community, but there are so many of our members who reach out to us via mail, via message, saying, hey, I want to come back to Calcutta. I'm looking for a good opportunity. Could you help us? On the other hand, we have companies and recruiters saying, would you mind socializing our job opportunities from your page? So on one hand, we have the supply of talent who want to come back to Calcutta or are in Calcutta. On the other hand, we have companies wanting talent in Calcutta. And obviously, we are not a placement agency, we are not a recruitment firm, we are just a community. But talking to you, makes me think, how do we bridge this demand and supply? And I don't know if Spotle can be instrumental in doing that. We can probably discuss that offline. But it just seems that this finding demand and supply and bringing them together on a platform could be AI powered, of course, because manually it's not feasible, but something that could actually benefit our community because we have both demand and supply, and the gap is there which needs to be bridged. Yeah, please go on. Sorry for interrupting.
No, not sure. So Spotle, we raised multiple rounds of funding, not just India. We raised it from HNIs, but typically just Silicon Valley, just top brass, from companies like Google, Walmart, Pinterest, Coupang, all of these people, directors and above, they invested. There's I think we had an extremely good start. We were by default, we used to get selected in all the accelerator, selected Shilam. I think 2020, 21, a couple of things kind of went wrong with us. So business is always this curve, and I guess, and then I understand that why, business, despite its kind of lure, is probably not for the faint-hearted, so to speak.
I was going to say that, yes.
So, you see very strong highs. When at the point I know, because then there was this gentleman who reached out to us saying that, he's a traditional businessman and I want to take a significant stake in this because I want my son to be a part of this. Because I run a rice oil thing. and export import is
very
lucrative.
different world. Very different world.
But my next generation doesn't want to go into it. So there was kind of a huge round of funding lined up. There were already good investors backing us. There was larger VC interest. It seemed to be a point where nothing could go wrong.
So Rimjhim, I have one question here, and before you get into the I would say the trial part of the success story of startups, how did you crack this VC ecosystem? Because obviously you were in a digital services business. That was your first foray into business, but that typically doesn't require VC funding, raising capital. But when you're building a product tech-led business, you definitely want to. So how did you get access to this world of VCs and these accelerators?
Right. So I think we just decided to be visible. Initially, at least a stronger role was played by my husband, also my co-founder JK. He kind of took the onus of first. He reached out. So again, familiarity is important. It's something that we realized. So he tapped into the Jadavpur network first.
Okay.
One of our co-founders who came on board as a tech co-founder, he was from IIT. Then we tapped into the IIT network. I tapped into my Imperial and SPJIMR network. And in fact, our first set of investors, etc., came in from these familiar networks only. And then the word of mouth spread. That they went and told others there's a good, good team with a good, good founders, honest founders, authentic founders, who are kind of very passionate about the mission, and that's how it spread and it helped us raise more. But initial, I think it's খুব important, people and in fact এই আরেকটা জায়গাতে কলকাতা একটু মার খেয়ে যায়, আমার যেটা মনে হয়, see, at the end of the day, it's all about networks. আমাদের একটা জায়গা আমি হয়তো একটু জ্ঞান দিয়ে ফেলছি, but আমার Bengalis or Kolkatans also in general, and not just because Kolkata is not just Bangali, full strong Marwari Gujarati community আছে. We need to get better at networking for sure. If Bangalore বা Gurgaon যেরকম communities দেখি, we need stronger communities here backing each other up. দেখো আমরা বাঙালিরা সবাই বলে আমরা একটু ক্রিটিক, আমরা সেলফ ক্রিটিকও। in a city like, আমি তো একটু ডায়াগনোস করছি, in a city like Mumbai, মানে খুব নোংরা, অনেক ইনফ্রাস্ট্রাকচারাল প্রবলেম, বাট একটা মুম্বাইকার সবসময় জোর গলায় বলে this my city is the best. So anyway, so familiar networks are important. So without familiar networks, I think it's very difficult to do business, because anyway there's so much uncertainty. You need good allies, and your first investor, etc., also come from those allies. Warm connects ko help kore. Without warm connects, even if I we also did cold call or cold email VCs, and I'll not say that we didn't get responses, but typically warm connects results connect better. That's why alumni networks. And if you are starting a business, your alumni network, it could be a last company that you worked in, it could be where you studied, it could be simply the place where you lived in. So for example, I see myself a small town girl. I grew up in Banpur. My dad was was stationed as a doctor there in the same hospital. So I even went back to that network and tried to see who is where. And what they think, so that common connect now always helps. I think so this kind of helps.
Even if you don't immediately get, let's say, funding from these people you reach out to, but you build a network, and then that person knows somebody else, that person knows somebody else, and once they get to know that you're doing something interesting, you never know where a connection might just happen from.
So best marketing is word of mouth. Digital bolo, ad bolo, TV bolo, the best marketing is always word of mouth. So first, initially, like a seed audience create for a beat in terms of your customers or your investors or your backers. Try and create a seed audience which is familiar, which will be less critical, and which will probably be willing to take more bets on you. So if you find that seed audience, if you find that initial cheerleader for you, and after that, of course, your product has to be good. You have to believe in vision. You have to be a strong team. All those are given. But I think you can scale post that. But then Spotle run into troubles in terms of funding, etc. Especially COVID and COVID we struggled. I myself went through a very large personal tragedy in 2021, which kind of broke our family. So I guess that was a low period. At that point, I think what we decided was, rather than waiting for more, because this assured funding that was to come to us, that also got delayed, because the gentleman was supposed to invest. There were losses because of COVID in his own core business. So all this got, while we had made significant investment, kind of raising debt, etc. anticipating that funding to come, because that was all mostly most of the paperwork, etc. At least, most of the commitments were already talked about. So we realized that, we are burning at a very high rate. The funds might get delayed, at least the amount that we were anticipating is going to get delayed. We might pick a smaller checks. So we decided to pivot from B2C to B2B. So we already had platforms. So at that point, we signed, contracts with some of the, one of the big four consulting firms, not disclosing, we had an NDA with them.
Sure.
Plus, I've set several other, top tier IT companies. They started using Spotle for the internal fitment, because it's fine, doesn't
like an internal talent marketplace. Project-based companies, yeah, makes sense.
So because it helps you kind of run quick assessments basis that it maps your skills. We also tied up with kind of certain governments. So it is at this point that I came on board Wiseowl, which is already working in Northeast with a number of the governments in skill assessment. We fitted the platform where the government started running their skill assessment again COVID time. So a lot of things were not happening offline, and online thing was the perfect solution for them. So once we pivoted to B2B, it didn't make sense. We were already 4 co-founders, because we also acquired another company. Kolkata-based company again, so we acquired, so they were an app development firm, very smart founder, he came on board. So 4 co-founders didn't need to remain because of this move. So 2022, I started looking for a new adventure. It was at this point I met Ankit, who is the founder of MyOperator. Ankit also has a Kolkata connection, by the way. They are Marwadis and Jains. They are basically from, their hometown is in Siliguri, and a lot of businesses or their, their relatives, etc. in Kolkata. So MyOperator, I heard from him, it was first registered in Kolkata, though they're now based in Delhi. এখনো আমাদের মানে obviously এটা থাকবেও, আমার official address is Kolkata.
Okay, that's good to hear.
And the Ankit Bhai Pratik especially, very, very strong advocate of Kolkata. When we often, any debates that we have on Kolkata versus Delhi, I generally find them on my side. So I was like, okay. Right. So he said we're launching something called Heyo. Heyo is going to be an ultra growth product for SMB. We're looking for someone who has, kind of about a tech and a growth mindset. And because we are scaled Portal very highly, and, essentially looking for a founder who comes on board as a co-founder and kind of, leads this growth journey, because in Heyo, we're looking for a kind of a rocket ship kind of a growth. MyOperator has strong growth, but it's in the mid-market, the enterprise layer. So it's to larger use cases, where Heyo would be, say, micro and small business. So even like Parar Beauty Salon can use it. So it would help them call and WhatsApp on the same app, manage their stuff.
Acquisition has to be very fast.
Extremely fast, but there will be no sales, nothing. It will be a complete cost-led growth. So it was a very interesting problem to solve for SMB market. Jodio, we know that India is a very huge SMB market, but it's also a very fragmented market. Languages same now, cultures same now. And you go from a Chennai to Chandigarh, motamoti enterprise businesses will behave the same way.
Yeah.
A micro business will behave very differently, language, because of local realities change. Very interesting and difficult problem to solve. Difficult problems have already attracted me. So then I kind of decided to join them on board, and this is what I do right now.
And by looking at some of the numbers that I saw, and it's seen phenomenal growth in the past 1 year. If you can share some highlights from there as well, that'd be good for our listeners.
So Heyo, kind of the beta launch happened towards the start of this year, where we mostly launched in the Delhi market and, then introduced paid plans.
2023, you're saying 2023?
Sorry, 2023. Yes, I'm talking, yes, I'm talking 2023. So not a year, last. Yeah, the year has changed.
Yes.
So we, it was largely Delhi, Gurgaon, Noida market se amra 3-4 মাস we kind of experimented. দেখলাম লোকের কি ভালো লাগছে না, price points নিয়ে কিছু experiments হলো. We realized that, you cannot really completely, Indian audience cannot completely predicted by science. Data is extremely important, but you have a prediction that this price point will work. You will have to do a large number of experiments to establish that. So product market important, pricing market fit important. And especially, when you go to a fragmented market like small and micro businesses, when you go to a market which is not very homogeneous, it's very heterogeneous, like I said, you will have to, the rate of experimentation has to be much higher. I think April, May onwards, whenever we were, again, MyOperator had been a bootstrap company. So, kind of conservatively growth is a kind of, is a mantra. But when I say conservative growth, suddenly in 2023, 24, na, 22 or 21, I mean, it means, oh my God, you're so boring. When I talk about that in 2024, conservative profit-led growth is the thing, because now suddenly
it has become I think and it has become more attractive rather than high rate of cash burn, high marketing, advertising costs, all of that. I think investors have sort of tightened their purse strings very drastically in the last 1 year.
To the Bangla way of doing business, the original Marwari way of doing business.
Yes, sustainable, profitable.
Paisa banao.
Correct. Okay, great.
So, but we realized that Heyo jonno amaderke funding raise korte hobe because of the the steep nature of the growth. This is a kind of growth curve which we didn't want to delay it, because we saw the early traction happening. Raise funding in July from, again, marquee investors, including the founders at Lenskart, Akash, Byju's, Busy. I think more it was, it was more of a free seed kind of fund, and we wanted to raise it to see that the, what kind of a backing does this get in the investor ecosystem. For generated a lot of interest, but we were kind of, focused on not taking anybody's money, but take on investors who align with the vision. July, August, in fact, I'll not say it, investors' money body, we started showing the growth curve. The hockey stick curve suddenly started happening. Some Instagram influencers who also run their businesses picked it up. They started talking about it. Video this is so easy to use. This has solved all my business problems, etc., etc., which kind of gave us a lot of fillip. Heyo already, in fact, I'm talking about data 3 months, more than 3 months back. We've crossed 1 million downloads. 2 lakh trials already hoye gache. Freemium as such nahi, but there are trial periods. And the number of paid users is also growing. We are looking at 1 million ARR revenue within a year. Fingers crossed, there.
Sure, that's good.
And, again, small businesses, we had our own doubts, because there have been, companies, very famous companies, like Khatabo, etc., which are, which have been the investors' darling, and I still believe that they have very good technology for sure. But everyone has been struggling to make money in the SMB sector, because the SMB sector is typically very challenging. There are some businesses like maybe Just Dial by India Mart, and we have talked to people working, their founders, etc., also, who have probably cracked this segment profitably. Otherwise, this is a very tough segment, very, very price sensitive segment. But value dekhano is very difficult. A segment is self-led at a journey, something you just come and download, there's no salesperson. It told me that there were doubts, amader nijedero doubts chilo. We initially had a call center, support center to support the selling of Heyo. Then we realized, no, if you make the product simple and intuitive enough, if you make the kind of education, the product the education you're factoring in,
the journey on the product when you download, the walkthrough of the product.
Exactly, the walkthrough, the kind of materials you are kind of giving the people at each stage, making sure you're accommodating maybe language preferences, etc. Some intuitive product journey, যদি you can do it, Indian consumer is very intelligent. And the Indian consumer has a strong street smartness. This is not maybe the intelligence of very sophisticated college-led education. I'm a 12 fail, 12 pass.
Yeah, 12 fail.
12 fail, right? Fail na pass. Anyway, not necessarily, there is this audience that's other pulse ta bujhte. They want simple product that is solving their problem. Bas, oda kono frills na.
And I think with internet, penetration, local smartphone usage, across all, geographies, social strata, smartphone usage has become ubiquitous. So everybody is comfortable on smartphones. It doesn't depend on your level of education, level of, fluency in a particular language. I think that has, been a tremendous, I would say, push for the Indian startup SMB segments.
Ekdom, for sure. Especially in Ekhane, I think we'll have to praise the Digital India movement. Some technology like UPI, right? It has made technology very kind of pervasive.
Yes.
Everyone, আমার ফুচকাওয়ালার কাছে the other
I
day
was going to say that, then I thought, yeah.
code. I'm like, you have solved a big problem for me.
Yes.
I love ফুচকা প্রায় গিয়ে খাই ওখানে আর ক্যাশ খোঁজাটা খুব ডিফিকাল্ট হয় now you spot put that code so that consciousness with things like UPI etc এখন ONDCO I guess is talking about in a larger scale people have started thinking the technology is also for them so এইটা যখন এসে গেছে না after that now but what you have to do if you are building for these masses you have to make sure that you are thinking first principles you're thinking very very simple. You are not thinking bells and whistles and frills and more features. Rather talking about the minimum kind of
viable product.
So the minimal viable, most stripped down product that is delivering value. That will also probably keep your cost low as well as will keep the value high. So we have a very strong product team, thankfully at Heyo, led by Bharat, who is the IIT Delhi pass out. So again, very strong team that have been built at Heyo. তার সাথে MyOperator তো আছেই to cater to the larger audience. We have a lot of customers incidentally in Kolkata. I think Kolkata connection is very strong. And that is why, I think recently, আমারও একটা কলকাতারই মেয়ে আর কি So very strongly want to focus on Kolkata and through Kolkata we want to focus on the larger east expansion because within a couple of years or as as the board decides we are all obviously in deliberations we're looking at going in geographies beyond India where this larger SMB ecosystem is higher and what we can do in terms of tapping in those markets that for sure is a great market there.
Okay. So and
Lucas gateway I think.
And that is good news for us to hear. And what I also saw is by virtue of the nature of the work that you are doing, you've also been instrumental in তুমি আগে বললে যে কলকাতার একটা tightly knit entrepreneurial network ecosystem. I saw you taking initiatives to do that, whether it's mixers, whether it's networking events. You've been doing that, and obviously you have been a prominent figure because you've been recognized at multiple places. You sit on boards in advisory roles. You've also taken some investor positions in some new startups. So how do you see and we'll come to Kolkata specific part of it, but how do you see your contribution in these areas, whether as an investor, as an advisor, or sort of a somebody who brings people together in an ecosystem? How has that evolved over time?
So আমার জন্য এটা একটা বড় চেঞ্জ বাই নেচার আই এম অ্যান ইন্ট্রোভার্ট সেটা এখন অনেকে বিশ্বাস করতে চায় না বাট বাই নেচার এখন আই প্রেফার যে একটা কোনায় বসে বই পড়ি বাট আই রিয়েলাইজ যে যদি একটা মুভমেন্ট করতে হয় না যদি আই নিড টু ব্রিং ইন more people out and literally আমি তো বলবো how I started this I basically again went back to my roots বাবাদের কাছে জেঠুদের কাছে বাবার মামার বাড়িতে গিয়ে I started finding out more about this legacy that is one thing I started doing the older business of Kolkata ওদের থেকে শোনা that is one part of it the second part of it is then understanding এখানে কিন্তু অনেকে খুব ভালো কাজ করছে there's this Kolkata Founders Circle started by who also runs Introbot, Akib Ache. These are all people who are kind of doing a lot for this, getting connected to them. And what I see myself, I think a couple of strengths I bring to the table. Technology and growth is a combination for sure. So সেটা যদি কারো কাজে লাগে আমার মনে হয় যে ওটা not necessarily আমাকে advisory board এই বসতে হবে কি আমাকে I need to be very strongly involved. It can be just conversations. যদি একটা দুটো টিপস কাজে লাগে I try doing that.
I saw you doing it one-on-one with some young founder who's doing some wow puchka or moa puchka I think. And I saw that post and I realized that you're not just doing it on a larger scale, you're also doing it as a one-on-one with young startup founders, so that is very encouraging to see.
In fact I want to do more at micro scale also to time permit করে because I think there's a lot to learn from these people. আমার মনে হয় I started entrepreneurship still late, এখন Gen Z starts it probably by the time they're in colleges. So there's a lot to learn from them and and if some of my advice tips helps or যদি আমার কোনো insight help করে তো for sure it's a win-win for sure. But হ্যাঁ দীপকের ফুচকা definitely খাবে, wow ফুচকা is very good. আমি on camera বলছি এটা. Not just Deepak, I met recently a founder, Prep Media founder, Devojyoti. He's a doctor turned an entrepreneur যে medical education আর যাতে আরো বাচ্চারা আছে তার জন্য করছে. And he could have had a comfortable job as a doctor because obviously doctor is a high paying profession. খুব ভালো লাগে ওকেও meet করে. So one aspect is that. Second is obviously, we as part or organize mixers and networking. Even I said, no, Bangalore does this very well. They have very strong community meter. আজকে নয়, আমি যেই সময় জব ছাড়ো ভাবছিলাম 12, 13, I went to Bangalore. Any cafe you walk into in an area, especially in that Indira Nagar type area, MG Road area, you will see a startup portal happening there. I spent some time in Bangalore there, before we kind of turned full time into. In fact, we did an entire Karnataka tour also, based in Bangalore. অনেক কিছু করেছি আর কি. So anyway, so I realized that Bangalore's strength is also these communities, kind of people, because entrepreneurship is a very lonely journey. You will need friends. You will need people who like you. You will need people যারা তোমার সাথে বসে expensive wine এর জায়গায় 100 টাকার beer খাবে, maybe, Kingfisher এর ওই. Because you realize that suddenly you are short of funds. Salary টা যখন আসছে না ইয়েতে, you cannot afford those fancy
frills go out. হ্যাঁ, ওইসব frills গুলো বেরিয়ে যায়।
ফ্রেন্ডস গুলো বেরিয়ে যায়, ওই ফ্রেন্ডস গুলোর সাথে অনেক ফ্যান্সি ফ্রেন্ডসরাও বেরিয়ে যায়।
স্টারবাকস থেকে দোকানের চায় চলে আসে লোকে।
একদম। ইনফ্যাক্ট আমি কয়েকদিন আগে একজন কলকাতা এন্টারপ্রেনার অভিষেক ইলিয়নিস, হি রানস টাইগার, I'm sorry, ওর নামটা ঠিক প্রনাউন্স করতে পারছি না, বাট হি রানস আ ভেরি স্ট্রং কাইন্ড অফ আ ম্যানুফ্যাকচারিং সেক্টর. হি সেড যে টাইগনিস, রাইট, ওর কোম্পানিটার নাম। হি হ্যাড সেড যে আমি গিয়ে দেখলাম যে অনেকগুলো বাচ্চা বসে আছে স্টারবাকস।
I am Calcutta,
right?
Yeah.
So we met and connected, kind of similar sensibilities. So he said ki ora bachchara boshe ache Starbucks e onek ora naki roz eshe meet kore and they're doing a startup huddle. Ora plan korche ki korbe. I was like, ora to poisha shesh hoye jabe before they even start the startup. Starbucks er ek dine tora they will end up spending 2,000, 3,000. So এই friends গুলো জায়গায় হাড়ে চা খাওয়ার জন্য লোক লাগে. And for that, I mean, as I said, your fancy friends go out because you cannot now afford the fancy places. Now you need to work with an alternative community. Our alternative community also, it's not just for this reason, but the community also supports you. And you in turn, it's like a one for all for one kind of a thing. I have tried meeting as many people here, tried meeting people who are genuinely kind of passionate about building an ecosystem, but talking about the ecosystem outside. And kind of, also not just in Kolkata. আমি চাই যে এই I don't want this kind of Kolkata thing to be limited to Kolkata. Sure. I want us to even go to other places and talk about Kolkata. So try finding, finding these groups elsewhere also. আমার খুব ভালো লেগেছিল December end day we had a meta across MyOperator grand meetup in Delhi because there's a we're building a lot of solution on WhatsApp, so there's a partnership being there. Introvert, Utkarsh, Serumer founder Chirodeep, Akib, a lot of people from Kolkata who had come there. It was like, suddenly a meeting of minds because, as I said, MyOperator founders.
Little
Kolkata, and we suddenly, we started saying that Jhalmuri is much better than Pelpuri, ba Kolkata's mutton er kache Delhi kebabs lage na. And this was the conversation we were having in Delhi because, that,
so many Calcuttans there. And I think you also did something similar, and I know I wanted to attend, but something came up that at Blob you also did a mixer recently. That received quite a lot of great response. So and this sort of I will try to bring it into more Kolkata focus. These events do happen; they are happening, and there are some fantastic individuals in the city circuit. Who take a lot of passion in organizing these, getting that momentum started, but as you rightly said, right, Bangalore, maybe Bombay, Delhi, they have been doing it for the last 10 years.
Yes.
We have probably just started, so anyway we are way behind, but I think that should not be a reason for us to feel demoralized. Ke acha Bangalore, Delhi te eto kichu hoye gelo, amra kichui korte parlam na. এই যে একটা মাইন্ডসেট আমরা দেখি না, মানে, and you rightly said earlier that we Calcuttans, Bengalis, non-Bengalis, we are very self-critical. Mane, before even people say something negative about us, we are the first ones to point out our negatives, and maybe we have become cynics, or whatever that is, or maybe it's somehow in our genes that we are very, very self-critical, which sometimes leads to a feeling of pessimism that nothing can happen, nothing will happen. And just to share with you, obviously we push positive stories around Kolkata because we believe negative stories এর জন্য newspapers or news channels আছে, you will find plenty of negative news there if that is your thing. Kintu even when we post positive news, some great news, and we still get a lot of, not a lot, but to some extent minority feedback in terms of this is all nonsense, these are all fabricated, this is not happening, this will never take off. And it surprises me that even if you don't believe in, let's say, somebody's paid post or somebody intentionally fabricating, but when you take statistics published by reputed institutes, uh, reports, surveys published, and those data and those figures stand out, showing that Calcutta is improving on number of metrics, where does that doubt still come in? And if you start questioning even the validity and veracity of these official numbers, then what have we got to debate with? মানে তোমার মাইন্ডে কলকাতার যে পারসেপশনটা রয়েছে ভার্সেস আমার মনে যে কলকাতার পারসেপশন, দেন উই আর জাস্ট আর্গুইং অন পারসেপশনস। তো এই মাইন্ডসেটটা আই সামহাউ ফিল while there are lots of these young, middle-aged, old people who are extremely positive, but there is a large chunk যারা হয়তো আমাদের কমিউনিটি পেজে এসে অত নেগেটিভ কমেন্ট করে না, but we still find some যেটা is a symptomatic of a larger mindset, this self-criticism, this pessimism. How do you think, because you talked about these wonderful examples and you mentioned that these Bengali business people or Kolkata based businesses, and I went and did some research and I was surprised to see so many names. Whether you mentioned Tagore in our earlier conversation, the Burmans, the Birlas, the Goenkas, the Neotias, PC Chandra Group, Ruya Group, Abhik Sarkar. So the Bijon Nag, there are the names just go on and on. So all of those businesses have been built out of Kolkata. Maybe not all of them are in Kolkata today. Some have moved to Bombay, some have moved to Delhi because of certain strategic advantages, etc. But all of them are grown from here. So would love to hear your views on what the evidence says versus what the mindset is.
See, I think our past has been glorious, and that is what we started with. Even if you go back, say 100, 150 years, all the legends. So we talked about Chan Chowdhury's story. হয়তো অনেকেই শুনেছে। এরকম আমার নিজের ফ্যামিলিতে আমি এই স্টোরিজ গুলো পাই। I think where we slightly missed the bus is the new age tech entrepreneurship. For various, say, political or geopolitical reasons, we skipped the bus there, and the tech revolution sort of eluded us and went more to first to Bangalore and now also to places like Gurgaon, Pune, which have Hyderabad also, because at that point the chief minister's vision of making it Cyberabad. So we did, and we have had certain upheavals, but we have had certain sensibilities that did come in the way of a outright tech adoption. আমার মনে হয় এখন সেটা চেঞ্জ হচ্ছে, আর এবারে না এখানে আমার দুটো জিনিস মনে হয়, মানে I'm putting a very humble kind of a request. The government has a role to play. আমরা অনেক জায়গায় গভর্নমেন্টের সাথে কাজ করেছি, we have done some work with the West Bengal government also. I think the government has a very strong role to play in encouraging this, in enabling this. And আমরা বলি যে গভর্নমেন্টের কিছু করতে পারবে না, মানে গভর্নমেন্ট has a very strong, মানে reinforce করা না the business stories. আমরা ডিজিটাল ইন্ডিয়ার কথা সবাই বলতে শুরু করেছি, the government is constant at this, is constantly reinforcing this. So one thing is আমরা এখন Bengal means business যেটা বলতে শুরু করেছি, I think that
Bengal Business Summit.
Bengal Business Summit. ওইটা I think let's kind of turn up the octave on it. It's kind of is a humble request for my end also to all the politicians. They're very capable to kind of এটাকে আরো strongly back করা, নিউ এজ entrepreneurs recognize করা, মানে এটা ভাবিস Agarwal is regularly felicitated. Find out the young entrepreneurs, you have give them a stage, recognize them. Young successful entrepreneurs, young hote pare successful, and not necessarily, I'm not saying, age not necessarily being a criteria here. Basically find out people who have really achieved in the last 10, 20, 15 years, bring them on stage so that they become like examples to the rest of the people. কারণ আমরা সবাই কিছু না কিছু এক্সাম্পল খুঁজি। ফ্লিপকার্ট বা ওলা পুরো ব্যাঙ্গালোরকে ইন্সপায়ার করেছে। We also have stories which needs to be kind of celebrated more. Number one for sure. Second হচ্ছে there are certain pockets যারা খুব ভালো কাজ করছে। For example, Kolkata Calling খুব ভালো কাজ করছে in highlighting the positive stories. There are communities like Founder Circle. There is already an initiative called Make Kolkata Relevant Again.
Of course, I have interacted with them. He's doing phenomenal work.
তো এই যে ইনিশিয়েটিভস গুলো এরা আরো নিজেদের মধ্যে কথা বলুক, so that we kind of a reinforcement, we have a reinforced voice going out. আর third for sure আমার মনে হয় যে যেটা সবাই আমরা ইন্ডিভিজুয়াল ক্যাপাসিটিতে যে এখান থেকে কিছু ডিগ্রি অফ সাকসেস পেয়েছে তারা whatever we can do. So for example, the meetups that I'm talking about, the one-to-one meetups, এটা more founders meeting founders. So I, for example, so some days, a couple of months back, I met Sunil. Sunil Blue Tea Chalai. Blue Tea was Shakti brand. And there was a small town connection because আমি নিজেকে এখনো আসানসোল বার্নপুরের ভাবি, মানে this is where my origin was, and I'm very strongly tied to the small town. Sunil also comes from Chittaranjan. ওর সাথে যখন আমরা স্টোরি শেয়ার করতে শুরু করলাম, we started finding out synergies, কিভাবে we can kind of back each other up. There were many examples. Met Vishal learning while traveling Chalai. Very interesting thing he's doing out of Kolkata is trying to kind of give students a bridge to higher education. So I think more of these one-to-one meetups or even smaller meetups can happen. And don't wait for big things to happen always. Whatever you can do in a small circle, power of one day আমরা স্টার্ট করি। আমি জানি আমাদের নেচারে আছে সেলফ ক্রিটিসিজমটা, আমরা বাই ডিফল্ট আমরা একটু সিনিক্যাল, বাট যদি আমরা সবাই ওই সিনিসিজমটা ছেড়ে we try looking at the positive stories, like you said, highlighting the positive stories. There are other publications which are doing it. Your story বাংলা একটা সময় বেশ অ্যাক্টিভ ছিল, আমার এখন রিসেন্টলি ফলো করা হয়নি। If it examples দাঁড় করাতে হবে লোকের সামনে, এক্সাম্পলস আমার কাছে, আমার এক্সাম্পল আমার গ্রেট গ্র্যান্ডফাদার ছিলেন। আমি যদিও তাকে কোনোদিন মিট করিনি, কিন্তু আমি যত ওনার স্টোরি শুনতাম আই টু ফিল ইন্সপায়ার্ড। আই থিঙ্ক অল অফ আস এক্সাম্পল, ফ্যামিলিতে হতে পারে, ফ্যামিলির বাইরে হতে পারে, উই নিড দোজ এক্সাম্পলস। একটা তো ডেফিনেটলি সেলিব্রেটেড বাই দ্য গভর্নমেন্ট, মানে আই এম সেইং নিউ এজ অন্টারপ্রেনার্স, আই এম সেইং যে হ্যাঁ পিসি চন্দ্র অ্যাকসেপ্ট তো করেছে, কিন্তু আজকের ডেটে দাঁড়িয়ে আমি এজ আ নিউ এজ অন্টারপ্রেনার আমার মনে হয় পিসি চন্দ্র অলরেডি অনেক বড়। হোয়াট অ্যাবাউট জেনারেশন অফ অন্টারপ্রেনার্স যারা আজকে are doing it, but last 10 বছরে successful হয়েছে? What about that breed of entrepreneurs? তাদেরকেও সামনে আনো। Senco, PC Chandra, ITC are already there. They're great stories, but to actually inspire the person on the ground, I need the mid-level of stories. সেই স্টোরিটা গভর্নমেন্টকেও রেকগনাইজ করতে হবে, also non-government bodies. So for instance, your podcast can become a great platform to bring these people in front.
Anna, when you were saying all of this, and I was also thinking, because you referenced and name checked many of these young when I say young as in young company founders, Jara, who are doing fantastic work. And obviously you yourself have been an important figure in bringing people together. So here is my shameless plug. We would definitely need your help in getting us connected to these entrepreneurs, founders. Obviously we are a very small community, growing, yes, but still very small. We would love to have an opportunity to listen to them, their journeys, and if you can get us connected to these folks, we would love to bring them on the podcast, one at a time, in a panel, however it works. We would love to share their stories with our community, so that we are not a Facebook or an Instagram platform where people go for leisurely scroll. People generally come to LinkedIn, apart from the corporate Gyan aside, but to know what's happening, right, in the corporate world, in the professional sphere. So I think we will lean heavily on you to, connect us with these fantastic individuals. So Sheta is one. The other thing that I was, thinking about, based on conversations with, you, others in the past, there are different pockets, right? Let's say, somebody has a community page, somebody has a proper, movement, which, let's say, Meghdut you referenced, make Calcutta relevant again. Most of these movements or communities they have overlapping members, but they don't really come together in any manner. And I think that is probably the next step. Without asking anybody to surrender their autonomy or identity or creativity, there is another fantastic page. I would love to give a shout out to Kolkata IT Hub, which has grown fantastically in last 1 year, and they focus more on the IT side of things, IT and tech side, but they're also doing tremendous work. Just a group of individuals, corporate professionals coming together with a passion, wanting to make Calcutta, the IT destination for the world. So these are all pockets, though we are connected in some manner. We haven't been able to coalesce these separate individual streams into a bigger force. And would love to hear, because you are the growth expert, would love to hear from your mind, what can we do to get these things, harmoniously powerful?
দেখো, এটা সত্যি ইম্পর্টেন্ট একটা কথা। মানে আমার অনেক অবাঙালি বন্ধুরা বাঙালিদের দিয়ে মজা করে যে দুটো বাঙালি একটা দুর্গাপূজা হয়, 3টে বাঙালি থাকলে দুটো দুর্গাপূজা হয়ে যায়। মানে দুটো হয়ে যায়, মানে 4টে হলে 4জন হলে তো ডেফিনেটলি দুটো হয়ে যায়, 3জন হলেই দুটো হওয়ার প্ল্যান শুরু হয়ে যায়। সেখানে না আমাদের মানে ইউনিটিটা সত্যি একটা খুব মানে বড় ব্যাপার। একটা টাইমে যদিও এটা একটু রেটরিক্যাল সাউন্ড করবে, আমরা তো এক হয়ে মানে লার্জ বেঙ্গল প্লেড apart from Punjab probably the most visible role in India's freedom movement.
Absolutely.
করেছি আমরা একসাথে এসে দাঁড়িয়েছি। তো এটাকে আমরা আরেকটা ফ্রিডম মুভমেন্টই ভাবি না, মানে ফ্রিডম ফ্রম দ্য বায়াসেস that people have about Kolkata. मरा हुआ नगरी है, ज्यादा कुछ होता नहीं है। আমি বাইরে কি শুনেছি, ইনফ্যাক্ট ওখানে লোকে বলেছে, অথচ this is the place that has given us every front from raid to takeover and the business names we talked about. যেটা একটা ফ্রিডম মুভমেন্ট ভাবি, why can't we talk to each other?
It has a lot of similarity you brought, and again, chota muh badi baat type, but when we were under colonial rule, we stopped believing in ourselves. That hinmonnota bole na, hinmonnota. You start thinking lesser of yourself. With British gone and all of the history that happened in the last 75 years, somewhere I think that inferiority, self inferiority, একটা imposition আমরা আবার নিজেদের মধ্যে এনে ফেলেছি যে না, আমরা তো এরকম ভাবেই আছি, এরকম ভাবেই থাকবো, there is no better future. So I think this parallel analogy is very right, that we probably need another strong movement to come out of Bengal. So yeah, please go on.
হ্যাঁ, তো ফ্রিডম মুভমেন্টেরও অনেকজন লিডার ছিল। হ্যাঁ, দে ওয়্যার লিডার্স, বাট দে অলসো ওয়ার্ক উইথ ইচ আদার। অবভিয়াসলি সেটা অনেক একটা বড় স্কেলে একটা ক্যানভাসে হয়েছে, মানে তারা মানুষ বিশাল বড়। কিন্তু আজকের দিনেও আমরা দ্য নিউ এজ অন্টারপ্রেনার, সো টু স্পিক, বা নিউ এজ প্রফেশনালস, মানে আমি চাইলে অন্টারপ্রেনার্স বলবো না, মানে বিলিফটা তো সবারই মধ্যে আসে। বিলিফটা ইজ সামথিং দ্যাট ইজ নট নেসেসারিলি যে খালি অন্টারপ্রেনার হলেই আমার মধ্যে বিলিফ আছে, না। As professionals, as entrepreneurs, as new age people of Bengal, as maybe the young generation of Bengal, আজকে যারা কলেজে যাচ্ছে, আমার মেয়ে এখন 8 বছর বয়স, আমি তোকে সবচেয়ে পজিটিভ স্টোরিজ বলি যে these are the things that have already happened here. সেই স্টোরি, সেটা যদি আমরা রিইনফোর্স করি না, as everyone, যে হ্যাঁ কলকাতার মধ্যে এই ভালো জিনিসগুলো আছে, হাইলাইট করতে হবে স্টোরিজ গুলো, মেবি থ্রু পাবলিকেশন লাইক yours. সেকেন্ড হচ্ছে এই মুভমেন্ট গুলো কি করে একসাথে আসতে পারে। I think it's basically leaders talking to each other. Like you gave a shout out to Kolkata IT Hub. Can Kolkata IT Hub and Kolkata Calling do, maybe a virtual summit or even a meetup? Because IT, you have certain strength, they have certain strength. আর সেখানে তো পার্টনারশিপের মজা। আমার মনে হয় পার্টনার লেড গ্রোথ is the best growth, be it for a startup or be it for a even be it for a city or be it for a country. কারণ মানে আমি এটা প্রথমেই বলেছিলাম, পয়সা দিয়ে লোক আনবে না ওয়ার্ড অফ মাউথে লোক আনবে। ওয়ার্ড অফ মাউথ ম্যাক্সিমাম ড্রাইভ হয় পার্টনারশিপ থেকে, বিকজ ইউ হ্যাভ সার্টেন স্ট্রেংথস, you have certain cohort that listen to you. The partner will have certain cohort which listen to them. তুমি যখন এদেরকে একসাথে আনছো, you are basically gaining from each other. আমাদের অনেক সময় মনে হয় আমার লোক ও নিয়ে যাবে না, দ্য ওয়ার্ল্ড ইজ এক্সট্রিমলি বিগ, ইন্ডিয়ার ডেমোগ্রাফি খুব বড়, কলকাতার ডেমোগ্রাফি খুব বড়, লোক নিয়ে যাবে না। তুমি ভ্যালু দিচ্ছ, পিপল উইল কাম ব্যাক টু ইউ। তুমি আরো 5 জনের সামনে যাও, টক, মানে তুমি তোমার পার্টনারের কোয়ার্টারের সাথে কথা বলো, 5 of his cohort will also start listening to you, similarly the other way around. তো আমাদের ফর শিওর এই কোলাবোরেশন গুলো অনেকটাই করতে হবে। এটা তো একদিনে কমপ্লিটলি হবে না, মানে মুভমেন্ট তো
it's a journey. It's always going to be a journey, and I think it's also important to celebrate milestones, but again, not become complacent. And hence, when we felt we were becoming a little complacent with just putting out content every day, we felt that we need to do something different, and that is where I think in one of the conversations with Sneha, we felt that we should start inviting and talking to prominent people in the Kolkata business startup ecosystem, যাদের থেকে মানে আমরা তো শিখবই definitely, but listening to them, others in our community can also get inspired. You being, and you've been recognized as a woman in tech entrepreneur, of a position of prominence, it will inspire younger girls, boys to take up entrepreneurship, because you started in a very traditional college, B school, job, and then sort of you found your foray into the startup ecosystem and have been tremendously successful, and may you continue to grow. But that can also inspire people saying that, hey, I have always felt startup is not for me, but I mean, if Rimjhim can, why can't I? So erokom stories we would love to showcase to our audience, and hope that brings about a change. We are very optimistic, sometimes foolishly so, but I think that is sometimes needed. Otherwise, we'll never be able to get anything done. Rimjhim, I know we've taken 1 hour of your time, but before we wrap this up, would love to hear your vision or your hopes for Kolkata. What are those?
রাইট, আমি দুটো ভাগে ডিভাইড করছি আনসারটা। একটা আমরা মানে MyOperator বা Heyo ফোন, যেটা ডেফিনেটলি বললাম, we see a lot of potential here, especially for simplified SaaS, যেটা এখানে বিজনেসদেরকে টেক এনেবল করা। we already have wow momo থেকে ভবানীপুর অনেকেই আছে আমাদের customer base, but we still believe the East needs a stronger infusion of technology. আর টেকনোলজি এনেবল করলে যেই বিজনেস গুলো যেই জায়গায় গেছে তারা আরো হয়তো 10x গ্রো করতে পারবে। তো আমার একটা এই টেকনোলজি ইনফিউশনটা, যেটা আমরা say as our own companies ভাবি, I think this is something also new age entrepreneurs can play a role of, how can we infuse more tech into the Kolkata ecosystem. তো এটা একটা very, very strong vision we have, and এখানে না যা সাপোর্ট লাগে আমার দিক থেকে, মানে be it mentoring, be it consulting, be it just one-to-one কথা বলা, but not necessarily যে আজকেই কথা হলো বলে আজকে we start rolling our products. আমাদের জন্য Zoho খুব strong partner. I've also been talking to them, how can we probably, bring in Zoho's power to, Kolkata, and maybe educate people বা make people aware যে ওদের কিভাবে এটা কাজে লাগতে পারে। কাজে লাগলে তবেই তো নেবে obviously। কিন্তু টেকনোলজি ইনফরমেশনের দরকার আছে, কারণ আমি এখানে যেটা আমার একটু কিছুটা মনে হয়, আমি অনেকগুলো ফাউন্ডারের সাথেও কথা বলেছি বা ট্রেডিশনাল বিজনেসের সাথে তো কথা বলেছি, মানে যেটা আমার আঙ্কেলদের সাথে কথা বলি যারা এখনো বিজনেস করেন, যে টেকনোলজিটা তারা এখনো বুঝে উঠতে পারেনি বা রপ্ত করতে পারেনি। কিন্তু টেকনোলজি ছাড়া না নতুন এজে সার্ভাইভ করা খুব ডিফিকাল্ট। টেকনোলজি ফর টেকনোলজি সেক অ্যাডপ্ট করতে হবে না,
as a business enabler,
অ্যাডপ্ট করা খুব ইম্পর্টেন্ট। সেখানে 100% কমিটমেন্ট আছে, মানে হোয়াট এভার ওয়ে আই ক্যান হেল্প। আই স্টিল সে আই এম ভেরি স্মল ইন দিস, বাট যতটা একটা এটা ইন্ডিভিজুয়াল ভয়েস বা আমার কো-ফাউন্ডার্সরা আমি জানি এটার সাথে এই মিশনের সাথে লাইন, whatever we can do, we will do for sure.
And a tech evangelism type approach.
Tech evangelism for sure. It's important, we need to adopt tech at a much faster rate to keep pace with the rest of India or the rest of the world. Second, আমার যেটা আমি একটু পার্সোনাল লেভেলে যেটা আমি বলছি, মানে আমার যেটা ভিশন আমার মনে হয়, I know unicorn itself has become an overused word. There are stellar businesses like wow momo etc., which have kind of changed the narrative. We definitely want to see more such kind of marquee names coming out and being celebrated and becoming examples for others. While this is important, next stage of emerging jara businesses ache, And if we want them to get kind of more visibility, platforms like yours can for sure play a role in connecting them with the wider audience, be it in Kolkata or be it outside. So that's why I said Kolkata Kolkata bolle hobe na. কলকাতার কথা ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গলে বললে হবে না, কলকাতার কথা দিল্লিতে গিয়ে বলতে হবে, লন্ডনে বসে বলতে হবে, নিউ ইয়র্কে বসে বলতে হবে। আমাদের যে একটা বিশাল বড় বাঙালি প্রবাসী কমিউনিটি কিন্তু খুব স্ট্রং সারা ওয়ার্ল্ড। আমরা ধরো কিছু কলকাতা বেসড মুভমেন্টের কথা বললাম, why don't we also reach out to the NRI community in UK? মানে again could play a role there for sure. অনেকদিন ছিলাম ইউকে তে, ইউএসএ তেও কানেক্টেড আছে, বিকজ লট অফ ফ্রেন্ডস বা সিনিয়র্স আর দ্য ইউএসএ তেও কিছুদিন কাজ করেছি। So also, kind of enabling the voices beyond Kolkata, enabling the voices of Kolkata beyond Kolkata, enabling positive talk about Kolkata beyond Kolkata. So সেটা আমাদের কমিউনিটি ফর শিওর খুব হেল্প করতে পারে। দুভাবে এটা হতে পারে, যারা প্রবাসী খুব ভালো স্ট্রং অ্যাচিভার তারাও আসতে পারে টু প্ল্যাটফর্মস লাইক ইয়োর। সেকেন্ড হচ্ছে যে can we also maybe do certain মানে ফরম্যাট গুলো তো পরে ওয়ার্কআউট করাই যায়, what can we do jointly with them to talk about these businesses? মানে আমরা তো দুর্গাপুজো করি বাইরে, এবার ইনফ্যাক্ট একটা ভালো মুভমেন্ট হয়েছিল কলকাতায়, ফ্রি ফ্লো করেছিল নাকিব এন্ড ওয়ান্ডারফুল জব, দে ক্রিয়েটেড সামথিং কল দুর্গাপ্রেনিয়ার, যেখানে ওরা women এইরকম মোর প্রপার্টি ইউ ক্যান ক্রিয়েট নট জাস্ট ইন কলকাতা বাট আউটসাইড অফ কলকাতা, যেখানে কলকাতা বিজনেস নিয়ে কথা হচ্ছে বা কলকাতা বিজনেস থেকে নিয়ে কলকাতার যারা আইকন তাদেরকে আরো বেশি সেলিব্রেট করা হচ্ছে। আই থিঙ্ক দ্য ন্যারেটিভ উইল চেঞ্জ। দিল্লি বম্বে ন্যারেটিভ চেঞ্জ করবে। আই হ্যাভ typically seen people, Delhiite or Mumbaikas, being very, very proud of their cities, despite the many problems. Problems সব জায়গাতে আছে। Problem আর নিউ ইয়র্কে নেই, you can get mugged on any. আমার লন্ডনে আমার পার্স চুরি হয়েছে, মানে I was literally snatching হয়েছে। But problem সব জায়গাতে আছে। You see the positive out of it and you kind of for sure give this a global platform, not just in Kolkata like I said. Beyond Kolkata, gives Kolkatans, and I don't just mean Bengalis by that, because Kolkata is a very strong cosmopolitan culture. We wouldn't have been where we are without the Marwadis or the Gujaratis or the Sindhis. So let's give all Kolkatans who are intensely proud of Kolkata a stage globally. আমার জন্য সেটাই বেশি।
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rimjhim. I know it's Sunday, but still thank you so much for taking আমি সিটির আওয়াজ পেয়েছি, আমি প্রেসার কুকারের সিটির আওয়াজ পেয়েছি এক দুবার। So that's why I felt I should not keep you back for long. But before we close, I just want to thank all the viewers who joined us live, and thank you for the comments. We were talking, so we couldn't go through the comments. If you have questions for Rimjhim, please feel free to share those in the comments, tag us, and I think we will definitely respond to you. If you have any questions for Kolkata Calling or suggestions or feedback about either this podcast that we are starting or overall the community page, we would love to hear from you. So thank you. That is the first episode of Hello Kolkata, and we'll close the stream, and hopefully next week we'll be back with another guest. And thank you so much. Have a great Sunday. Thank you, Rimjhim.
Thank you so much.